Hello, we are back.
Hi.
Back. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot I was on camera.
No, she
Hi,
didn't. She
we're
goofy.
bridging generations.
Connectivity.
Bridging generation. Bridging
Bridging
generation.
generation.
Bridging.
Bridging generations. Breaking the yoke. Breaking the bonds. Making us clean. And making us one. Each one. Teach one. Each one. Reach one. We are bridging generations. Bridging. Bridging
Bridging generation.
generations.
Yes, we are bridging generations.
Bring in the beat.
And I am Whitney, and this is
Prophet Monica
Prophet
Boney.
Monica Boney. As always, if
Other
you
mother to the other.
haven't
I'm a
had
mother
the
to the other.
opportunity to go over to her page on Facebook, Monica Boney, and on YouTube, Moments with Prophet Monica, please do. It will bless you. She talked about love. She talked about obedience. She talked about understanding your place in the kingdom and not having to settle for less. She talked about building a foundation and many more other things because I was about to give y'all all the secrets. So let me not. Sorry.
She's gonna be called in the board meeting the next week. Don't worry.
It's okay. We got our jackets on today. I can go in the board meeting with this on. Come
You
on,
sure
Jesus.
could. That's why you being called in.
That's why you
You
put.
might not like what's being said, but
I'm in my board meeting mood. Uh,
I dare you.
yes, yes.
Mm.
And you are the queen of where?
Ghana.
Ghana. You some type of queen because I promise you, when I say Wakanda forever, the queen, she had it on her fixture just
She
like
did.
this.
Just because she's cute, she know what to
She
do.
cute. She know what she doing.
She know.
She know what she
Mm-hmm,
doing.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay, so things are a bit different today. I think for the last two segments we had some type of entertaining type of thing. This time it's going to be informational, and hopefully you have something to take away. Um, so what is our topic of discussion for today, ma'am?
I think we'll talk about relationship struggles.
Relationship struggles. So we talked about relationships in the past, but I don't think we really expanded upon the struggle piece. And I think I actually have something to offer today.
Yeah, and the deal is that it so happened that my time that when I was coming up, relationships or the way we establish relationships
Mm-hmm.
was different than the way we are today. And so I believe that what we learned or what I learned in my earlier years have value
Mm-hmm.
and should be passed on. And if we don't have the conversation, that the newer generations don't get to reap the benefit
Mm-hmm.
of our mistakes or our
Mm-hmm.
learnings or even the basis of the platform of which we operated from. They don't
Mm-hmm.
they won't know.
Right.
And so we have to be transparent, open, and we have to have some type of connectivity
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so that each um, generation
Mm-hmm.
can get stronger. We know that the Bible says that we get wiser and weaker, but in the kingdom, we're gonna get wiser.
Wiser. Wiser. Hallelujah. So okay, what aspect do we want to first touch?
Well, most often, when we make decisions about engaging in a relationship, we have vague. I want to use the word our scale or our checklist or our measures aren't they're vague. How do we? I was talking to a young man. I called him my godson yesterday, I think it was, and
Mm-hmm.
I told him your picker don't work good. He said no, it doesn't. I said, well, then you need to bring her to me and let's have a little conversation before you jump in full force.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, yeah, I agree with that. However, it would be his decision to do that, even though he agreed with what I said.
Mm-hmm.
He still has to make a decision to submit in that area. And that was the other word that we talked about, is that it is a form of submitting, especially when we have a place where we are struggling personally,
Mm-hmm.
and we need enough information to be successful. You have to be able to say, well, I don't really know how to do this, but I want to,
Mm-hmm.
and then make yourself available for input information. The good thing about it too, at the end of the day, you're the only one who can really make the decision.
Mm-hmm. Oh, excuse me. Okay, so how would that relate to struggle? To struggle. Excuse me, guys. Listen, I went. Do I have time for animation? Okay. Oh my gosh, because my allergies is trying to cut up. I went to the doctor today and took an allergy test, and they said I was allergic to a few things. They found a few findings. So they say mosquitoes. I knew I'd never liked mosquitoes, but now it makes a little bit more sense because I'm allergic to them, and different types of grass, which there's many different types of grass. Who knew, right? Um,
I'm allergic to them because they hurt when they bite, and I
I
always swell up. I don't know about everybody else, but I swell when they bite me.
Me too. And I guess that should have been an indication right there, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that may have something to do with the sneezing, possibly. But anyways, so the example that you just gave, how would that
Struggles,
be a struggle? Yeah.
because our innate person without the skills sets will migrate to something that will cause a struggle in our interpersonal relationships, because we don't have a set, we don't
Mm-hmm.
have skill sets
Mm-hmm.
to be successful in
Mm-hmm.
that arena. And
Mm-hmm.
so definitely we migrate to someone. A lot of times well, men migrate is to know how big her butt is, and how
Mm-hmm.
how much breast she have, or how easy she is to get into bed with her. A lot of times men are
Mm-hmm.
wooed by that, and
Sad but
women,
true.
yeah. And so that would be, because that is your drawing card. Then after you actually in intimacy with that person, you don't like how she cook, you don't like how she spend her money, you don't like how
Mm-hmm.
she talk to you, you don't
Mm-hmm.
like how she, you're a single parent, you don't like how she treats your children. A lot of stuff that you didn't examine before you moved into the,
Yeah.
yeah. And so that will cause a struggle, a
Yeah.
horrible struggle. And a lot of times too, when we realize we made a mistake, we try not to jump out so quick, because you don't want to hurt people's feelings, and or you feel like maybe I need to try a little harder. It's a whole lot of stuff that comes with that makes complication. It
Mm-hmm.
makes for complication in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I strongly believe that as soon as you see indication that it's not working, I don't think you need to dilly dally. I don't think you need to, because the person is not changing and you're not either. Not here. I don't even think that the person needs to change. They're just not a good fit for you.
Mm-hmm.
They may be working with somebody else just perfectly, but when they come to you, it's not your best, and or vice versa. You're not the best for them, So and if you can kind of think that way, kind of keep your mind clear, because you're not fearful that if you don't stay with this person, nobody else going to come. You're going to be nobody. You don't have another alternative and choice.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that comes in, and makes it difficult to make decisions. You know. So I think that aspect brings for struggles
Mm-hmm.
in relationships.
Well, I was listening to a show earlier, and this some kind of the tag off of the or an aspect of assessment before you even become intimate with this person. Of course, you want to be married. Um, However, if that's not what you believe or whatever the case, that's definitely what we advocate for. But if that's not what you believe, assessing the aspect of finances is extremely important. Was listening to Anthony O'Neill, which is someone who talks financial literacy and things of that sort, especially for our community, African American community. Um, but anyways, he was reading the statistics of those who get a divorce just because of finances. And instantly I just begin to reflect, because in my season my season of singleness, that is something that is near and dear to my heart to have in order, because I can only imagine, with one person they you could find yourself in a struggle, but when two people come together, and yes, it could be very beneficial. I'm not gonna sit up here and tell you, because as he was talking about the space of there being a struggle, he also talked about the space of it being fruitful. Um, it was a one couple in there. They got out of like $125,000 worth of debt,
Working together.
working together, and of course, because two incomes is always better than one. But having that understanding, having mutual goals when it comes down to your finances, like understanding this is a space of investment, this is a space that I'm choosing to save, this is a space that I'm choosing to give, because that, I mean, everything, your whole moral code can be demonstrated in your finances. Your belief in your finances can that can make a difference in your future on whether you're gonna be on Section 8, not any,
No throwing
no throwing
flags.
under the bus for those who are, but it does make a difference from poverty and prosperity, and what wealthy versus rich look like, because we can be rich and we can go buy all the name brands, but we can be wealthy and go to a thrift store. Who, I mean, like, okay,
Seriously.
yeah, that is. Oh my god. Okay. Oh my god. Okay. So yeah, finance is that element, and you want somebody that's financially secure, independently. Yeah, and that's genuinely like a desire I know of mine, is to have wherever my husband is to come down the line. He has that aspect of finance is understood, because yoking with someone that don't understand finances, that's means for divorce. It didn't say that in the word, but and a Whitney Bible version. Or if they're not will, especially because those patterns and those habits, they are challenging sometimes to break. And if they're stubborn and they don't understand the importance of it, that's scary, and that's another aspect. You don't want to find yourself in a relationship with someone that's stagnant. You want to forever be evolving, forever be growing, and if that person don't have the same understanding, it's a lost cause, honestly. That's the reason why people go to counselors. And then there's men who say that they don't want to go to counseling. Why? Because they okay with being the way that they are, and they feel that the way that they are is the way to go. And that's not always true. Relationships should evolve, especially if the individuals that's in the relationship are continually evolving.
Yeah, right.
Well, then that's what it means for. So that's one aspect, finances. You had anything to add to that?
Finances, well, even if those straight, you still have to know whose house you're gonna go to at Thanksgiving. You have to know who's which family you gonna participate in for Christmas, and
You should go to both. But,
yeah, or who's gonna buy the presents for this or that. I mean, it's just so many things that your upbringing will dictate your mindset, and the other person's upbringing will dictate their mindset, right? So I think it's a time where you have to sit down and have conversation and come into agreement. This is how we're going to run our household.
Yes.
Even though we're an extension of two different households, but this is the household, how we're going to run the household, and come in agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes those kinds of things are not talked about.
Hmm.
And in our case, we go to church or we pick a minister or a pastor or whatever. We have to be in agreement with that. You can't just,
Hmm.
say, well, okay, you go to your Methodist church and I'm going to my Catholic
Yeah,
church. No,
no,
no. There has to
no.
be a unity and a oneness. And so
Yeah, yeah.
those kinds of things need to be talked about, definitely.
Hmm.
You know.
Hmm. And it becomes a struggle when um not even the differences, but the one person always going based off of what the other person has in mind. That still is a struggle because that means that person lacks individuality. And I think authenticity or individuality is still an element yet in oneness. You still have your own life to kind of like garner in a sense, and to bring more to the unity, to the union. You do have to have that space where you're like, okay, I genuinely don't like this, or I genuinely do like this, and not have that space in your head where even if you don't like it all the time, you have to go along with them. No. And I think that's how a person would even be able to identify if they're ready to move forward in that space of relationship, is to know that you have authenticity.
See, I think that's a little gray area for me
Hmm.
personally because I keep on thinking about the oneness, and when I see the oneness as I understand it, it's like we agree. It's not my opinion, your opinion. Is an agreement, but a lot of times it's not agreement. It's just like, well, I'm just gonna let you do what you do, and I do what I do. Well, that's a form of separation. And so if I do what I do and I end up over here on Scott Street and you end up on Westheimer, we're now in two different locations.
Hmm.
And something the junction does not take place. So I'm not sure
Hmm.
that when we talk about individuality as much as we may be talking about styles of clothes,
Yeah,
the
that's
way.
what I'm talking about. Styles of clothes, occupations, because everybody is not going to the same job. I mean,
Right,
there
right.
is
Unless
definitely
it's an
spaces.
entrepreneurial type of thrust, and you're working together on a business to make money or whatever, whatever. Maybe that's a possibility, but I don't know. I think in today's time, that's probably something that the our younger generation really perpetuates. He's an actor and she's a lawyer, and she has to go to her stuff for lawyering, and then they meet on
Hmm.
holiday times and stuff. That maybe I personally
Hmm.
wouldn't want to live where I had to meet with my husband for holiday times because our schedules were so
Right.
so.
So I know somebody that actually do, or I don't know them personally, but they did share their story. Viola Davis, a very successful actor or actress. We know her or whatever. She's well known. Um, her husband is in government, so she has to go and be with her husband 2 weeks and then go back to her acting career for the other 2 weeks. So I mean, it's definitely a space of preference. What I'm saying is, don't
Mhm.
be afraid to not be yourself. Don't be afraid, because it can be a space of
So
weakness.
not
I'm
being
referencing the
afraid.
weakness.
Okay. So now I'm thinking not being afraid, but making sure that it fits in the scope of your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Because somebody else, a man might think this way about it, and a woman might think another way about it. So in other words, whatever you agree on is what I'm trying to say, is that if you agree that this is how we're going to live and this is how we're going to function in marriage, then we do. Because a lot of times what happens when it's that separate, then they start saying we've lost each other, we are not, where
Mm-hmm.
are we, what happened to us, we're not
Mm-hmm.
in this unity type thing,
Mm-hmm.
or there's no enough interaction with each other. Sometimes that happens, and sometimes I have known where the reason that it was so convenient for the other person to be absent so much, because the other person didn't really like them that much, and it was okay. It's like, okay, I got
Well
time.
then.
I got time to do other things, because you really get in my nerves when I'm around. And COVID brought that out. If you stop and think about it, the business was good for people, but when they couldn't be busy, It's like, okay.
Like I really got to deal with you.
Yes,
Like I
yes.
can't go to work as an escape.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
yeah, for sure,
right.
for sure. But it does become. I believe that it does become a struggle when you don't have your own mindset. Like together, I'm not taking. What did you call it? Interdependent.
When? Today?
No, when we had that conversation last time about someone being able to manage themselves but also work cohesively with another person,
Mm-hmm.
interdependent. And then that's ultimately what I'm referencing
Mm-hmm.
to the younger people, that is like, let me go and be in this relationship and fall in love with somebody and lose yourself in the process. That's what I'm referencing. That's what I'm referencing. Um, but okay, that's another aspect of a struggle. That's definitely a struggle because I've seen it happen so many times. Where it's you eat, sleep, and all you think about is them, and it's like, no, you have things you have to do, and,
That's
and
right.
so that's why I say that that's a struggle.
That's right.
Um,
That's right. Yeah.
I'm gonna be quiet because I'm almost getting emotional thinking about the individuals that I know that have happened to them, and now they may be stuck in a marriage, or they may even be stuck with a child, or whatever, and they never had the opportunity to fully discover who they were,
Mm-hmm.
but they got lost in what the other person was and who that other person was to them
Mm-hmm.
versus identifying who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's definitely a space where God, he desires to mature us as young people, or even as singles, before entering into a marriage,
Mm-hmm.
understanding identity,
Mm-hmm.
understanding this is me, this is my purpose. And actually not even all understanding, but also establishing like the space of boundary, because the enemy comes still killing, destroy. And I'm gonna leave it at that. That's cute. So yeah, yeah. So what are some other struggles?
Mm, I don't know. I think we've covered quite a bit tonight, but
We did.
mm,
We definitely did.
yeah, I think the essence of it too is just have healthy communication. That
Have
is
healthy
just so
communication.
important.
Yeah.
Just don't be pouting and thinking it in your head, and it's hoping that the other person, get it and will do better. You have to be able to say, this is how I feel about this,
Hmm.
and the better you are at communicating without yelling and screaming and
That's all it
getting
takes.
all emotional.
That's all it take oftentimes is just a space of communication. That's one of the things that I had to learn. Especially in communicating how I feel about a thing. First off, understanding that the other person, they don't have the same mind that you have. Like although there even may be a oneness in spirit, God still give us the wisdom to communicate a thing. So the other person may be able to identify you're not feeling comfortable about a thing, but in terms of the specifics, because sometimes there is a sign, but the specifics aren't evident, so they have the opportunity to take away whatever they think that is causing the other person to be mad, and that may not even be it. So you have to apply the verbiage piece, um, and understand like, hey, I care about your heart. I think I was at a space where, and I know this is becoming a little bit personable, but in our relationship and bridging generations, we have definitely learned how to successfully, in a healthy way, manage relationship. I mean, and it's just across the board, and it's like really the premise, the foundation. And so going into other relationships, whether platonic, whether romantic, we can. I can flourish because she had that skill set before I came here, but I can flourish now because I do have this as a premise. But anyways, I was in such a space where I'm so consumed by the space of me possibly offending them, that I'm so consumed by that my delivery, it sounds awful, and the thing that I wasn't trying to do, I ended up doing anyway because of the delivery and me being consumed about what the other person has to say or what the other person has to feel about a matter. When truth is, I am accountable for my emotions, that other person is accountable for their emotions. And whether I try to sugarcoat it or not, they're gonna feel the way that they're gonna feel. And so it's important that you communicate.
Yeah, and in that communication, and there has to be truth
True.
and transparency to your truth, not the other person's, because you may be really wanting to say a thing, but you trying to say it another way because it's not really your truth, and that always garbles the communication. If really, like example, the other day, you said to me something about what was wrong, and I blew it. I said nothing. I'm just, I just want everybody to be okay. That was my response. I just wanted everybody to be okay. But then later on in the conversation, the truth was I did not like what was said,
Mm.
and I wanted it corrected, and I wanted to see. But I gave a general response to the question. But the other person, like you were able, you knew something was up,
Mm-hmm.
but exactly what it was, I didn't verbalize it.
Yeah,
And
verbalize it.
I was choosing not to verbalize it because I didn't want to be sound negative and sound like I was
Mhm.
condemning someone. I was not trying to do that. It was just my truth,
Mhm.
And so
And I think that's a mentor mentee relationship right there. Because we know that in terms of, and maybe I don't know, that's something that we can explore briefly
mm,
in terms of spousal relationship. Um, the space of correction.
hmm
What do
well,
you feel about that?
so where men are concerned, there's a way that you could do that with them.
Mm-hmm.
uh Mostly kiss them on their head and give them some good food before you come for them, because they get real upset. They don't like being corrected. And so, but there's a way to do it, with your femininity
Mm-hmm.
that will get through to them. But and if it's the man trying to correct the woman, it's the same thing. It's your masculinity of caring for her,
Mm-hmm.
nurturing her,
Mm-hmm.
so that when she says, you say, honey, you know, I know you was happy about blah blah blah, but
Mm-hmm.
mm-mm.
Mm-hmm.
And say, and let her know that this is not about you
Mm-hmm.
rejection.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that I just didn't like, and I want us to,
Mm-hmm.
revisit it to figure it out.
Communicate from a space of love. Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes, and if the other person is questioning whether or not they're loved, no matter how you say it,
They gonna
they're
take
gonna take
offense.
offense.
Mm-hmm.
But if they do know for a certainty that love is present and that person loves,
Mm-hmm.
I try to tell my some of my other daughters same thing. Hello, hello. I'm not trying to come for you. I love you. So maybe it hurt your feelings, but the goal was to push you to a higher place,
Mm-hmm.
to help you to grow.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't lower, you don't raise the standard, how will you be able to reach?
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes that just you take the bitter with the sweet,
Mm-hmm.
and then at the end of the day you recognize that this person's love. That's why I said earlier in my other live, love is not all mushy gushy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes love is rough,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's tough, sometimes it's hard, but the goal is to get people to their highest self,
Mm-hmm.
or to get me to my highest self, because I'm not exempt,
Mm-hmm.
for growth.
Yeah, I say it's a space of constantly reminding yourself that they are on your team.
Mhm.
And I know that's something that
Mhm.
even the other day I struggled with because um, she brought something to my attention and I didn't feel the conviction of it at the time. I didn't understand. I had no understanding of where she was coming from, and so it came across like
I was not on your team.
you. I wouldn't say it was like, yeah, you were on my team, but having that trust piece as well. You
Mhm.
have to trust that that person have a better understanding than you in an area. And I think I was struggling with
Yeah,
that piece because
yeah.
actually it was conveyed in love, but in those times where it doesn't feel like love, that's when you have to remind yourself this person is on my team, to come to that central space of understanding. They love me, they care about me, they
Mhm.
on my team. But then it
Mhm.
takes that element of trust as well
Mhm.
when they're giving you corrective information, because
Mhm.
it's like, well, that's how you did it with that's how you do it with your family, or that's how you do things with so and so, Billy Sue and Bob.
Yeah.
But for me, this is how I do, and so it's definitely a space of trust, and definitely a space of love, and also humility.
Yeah, that
And
was the other
in
word today
receiving.
that came out in prayer.
Yeah,
Humility.
yeah,
It takes humility to, you know.
yeah.
And the other thing too, that when you're trying to decide whether or not it's good for you or somebody's, you have to like check the track record. Like, see what's being, make a comparison to what happened and what could have happened and what were the outcomes, and just weigh it out. Sometimes it's just good to ponder, get quiet and think it through, before you start saying a whole bunch of stuff in reaction, which
Mm-hmm.
reactions can really mess us up sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Gotta respond. And
Hmm.
I'm responding to this time. It has
It is that
been
time.
30 minutes.
It is that
And,
time.
I say that we should start a podcast, right? So we're standing right here today, December 26th. Hint, hint.
I'm
And
down with the
so,
podcast. We just
so
need to
make
start it.
sure, make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. Um, More information coming your way. And as Prophet always say,
Sending love your
send in
way.
love your way. All right, it's been Bridging Generations. Adios.